Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thank you for joining me again this week. Today's show is going to be an inspiring show for anyone out there who is dealing with adversity, and I am so looking forward to sharing this guest with you today. I am here today with Miss Jacquie Farmer. I'm also here with her mom, Miss Colette Seymour, and a very special lady who is helping Jacquie, Haley Summers. And I want to talk to you today about adversity. And we're going to share an incredible story with you, so stay tuned, and I look forward to motivating and inspiring you all to live your best lives ever. But Jacquie had an unfortunate circumstance occur as a young woman and has overcome so much. And I want you all to listen, no matter what it is, that adversity that you are facing. I want you to hear this story, hear Jackie's perspective, listen to how Jacquie has overcome it, and hopefully we'll be able to help you if you also are overcoming a physical adversity. So Jacquie, thank you. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
I met Jacquie, I guess, about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And just in the last year and a half, I've seen such an incredible change. So, like I said, I can't wait for you to share your story. So why don't you introduce yourself to the guests and tell them what happened to you, and then we'll move on and I'll get some information from your mom, who was nice enough to join you, and then we'll talk to Haley as well.
Okay. My name's Jacquie Farmer. I'm 22 years old. I'll be 23 in August. Right after my graduation, my summer 2008, I was in a diving accident, and it left me paralyzed from the neck down. Originally, I had no limited movement in my arms. I had no movement in my fingers or my hands, and nothing from the waist down. The doctors did a surgery and told my mom that I would never walk again. And about 2 months into when I was at the hospital, it was the 2 months, I started moving my right side, and just kind of, I don't know.
Surprised everybody?
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't expect it. So your
no.
whole right side, including your waist down, that they said you would never have use of.
Yes. And so I started moving my right leg a little bit, and we were all in shock. My mom went and got a nurse, and she was like, "Is this real?" And it was.
So at this point, you're still in the hospital.
Yes. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and this was like a month and a half.
Not rehab yet.
No.
You're still.
Well, I couldn't do rehab because my blood pressure was so low that when I would try to do rehab, I just would pass out. So okay. I was just kind of hanging out in the hospital.
Okay. And they said, I'm assuming, I could be lying here, if it didn't come back within X amount of days or something, that you probably wouldn't. So for 2 months to go by,
right,
and all of a sudden feel something, that's completely out of the ordinary.
Right. And,
I'm assuming.
And it was nobody... Okay. They said it would never happen. I was just in the hospital trying to learn how to live my life with my disability instead of trying to get better.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And you were at a hospital here in Atlanta?
Yeah, I was at Scottish Rite.
Okay. Which is a wonderful hospital.
It's a children's hospital, so it's kind of weird because, I wasn't 18 yet, which is, I think, why they put me there. I was still 17, and so... they kind of have, that mentality for children. And so it was hard kind of being in that environment and not, they didn't know that when I say, this is as much as I can do, they're like, oh, well, we'll try to push you because you're just a little baby, so.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so let's just go back to the day it happened first. Okay. And then I have so many questions already about the hospital stay, and we'll get into the future after that. Actually, let's go to your mom on this one.
Okay.
So, Colette,
yes.
Bring us back to that day.
I received a phone call at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I knew that she was over at a friend's house and had spent the night. and they told me to come get her because she apparently they said that she couldn't handle her alcohol, is what they told me.
And were you drinking?
I had a drink.
So that wasn't it?
No.
all.
They took my blood alcohol level at the hospital, and I was nowhere near being.
She didn't even register hardly.
Okay.
And so I went over there just with that thought in my mind that I was picking her up from there. And when I got there, she was laying on the ground on the sidewalk. And, I'm trying to pick her up and tell her, come on, Jackie, you got to help me. I can't pick you up. She was, 118 pounds. And the more I got her, and she had been in the pool. I knew she was wet, and they really emphasized that to me, that, she'd been in the pool. And the more I tried getting her to walk, and, she just kept saying, I can't. She was kind of out of it. And so I finally picked her up, literally, and put her in the car. And we got maybe 3 miles from the house, and I looked over, and I saw that her hands were all curled up. And reality really started sinking in that something was seriously wrong. So I drove her straight to the emergency room in Cartersville.
So at this point, you really had no idea what happened.
I had no idea. So it hit me in the car that something was wrong. Mm-hmm. It wasn't
This has
just,
nothing to do with any kind of alcohol, and clearly you it wasn't.
No, and thoughts going through my head.
Because your hands don't curl.
Right, and I was even thinking alcohol poisoning, because it was still what was told to me.
Right.
So when we got to the ER, they were amazing. The doctor that treated her, he was immediate in his responses to what he thought was going on. He sent her for a CT scan.
And where was this? This was at
Cartersville.
Oh, in Cartersville Medical
Yes.
Center. Okay.
And while she was in the CT scan room, they ordered an IV hooked up to her immediately to give her a steroid. And they will tell you that it is extremely important within the first few hours of a spinal cord injury to get that into the body to reduce the swelling of the spinal cord. And I can tell you that she probably, a lot of what she has today, we can attribute to that doctor and how quickly he reacted. And then they tried to life flight her down to Scottish Rite, but it was cloudy.
So let me just ask you this then, Jackie. From the minute it happened till when your mom got there, they didn't delay to call her. You were quickly picked up and brought to the hospital?
No.
Okay, so that could have made it worse then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just curious. I wondered if there was a long delay or...
Well, I was also, when I was in the pool, they, nobody really knew what happened. And so at first they thought I was joking, so I was just kind of floating in the pool. And when somebody got me to the stairs, and I can remember my neck flopping down onto the concrete.
So you dove and hit your head?
That's what I think.
Okay.
I remember everything right before and then right after. I don't remember the actual impact.
Okay.
And so when they finally got me onto a lawn chair by the pool, I knew something was wrong, so I just kept saying, someone call my mom. And because there was alcohol involved, nobody wanted to call my mom. And once I finally knew somebody was calling her, I think that's when I blacked out.
Okay.
So I don't remember after that.
So then you're at the hospital. So they hook her up to an IV and you learn that this is
the doctor made the diagnosis.
Injury.
He let me know that it could be temporary. Once the swelling went down, she may get her movement back, or it could be permanent. So they tried to life flight her to Scottish Rite, but the choppers couldn't come in because of the weather. So Scottish Rite sent a special ambulance to pick her up.
Wow.
And immediately took her down there. She went into an emergency surgery right away to remove the fragments away from the spinal cord. And then I think it was 2 days later, she had another surgery in which the surgeon told me that there was a very good chance, because of where her injury was, she would come out not being able to breathe and in a halo. And we went through that. We went through that, and he also told me that he would know if there was any connections at that point. And when he came to me and let me know that the surgery went great, everything was wonderful, I asked him if there was any chance that she would ever walk again, and he shook his head no. And I said, well, what is the percentage? And he told me too small to even mention. And from there, we pretty much relied on our faith.
So you have to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I just can't even imagine going through that and not having faith. So we'll talk about that too. But so here we are, not even 24 hours later, and now you realize my daughter's never going to walk, and I don't know if she's ever going to get used to her arms and hands and fingers again either.
Right.
So I could be dealing with a paraplegic for the rest of my life.
Correct.
Scary stuff. So folks, I want to bring this back to you that are listening. This is Better Living. It is geared towards seniors and their loved ones about all aspects of senior living so that we can help affect you living your best life. We're talking about a young girl who has a spinal cord injury. But this is the part of the show where I just can't wait to talk to you, because I know as we age, we all go through adversity. And I've been in hospice and healthcare for a very long time, and I see a lot of people give up when some adversity, some illness, a diagnosis, a stroke occurs, even a dementia diagnosis of a loved one. And so this, although we're talking to a young girl who has a spinal cord injury, this show is so relevant to anybody, caregiver or patient, who is facing a diagnosis that's debilitating and changes the way you look at how you're going to live your life. So Jackie, back to you. Your mom said it, you have to have great faith if you're going to get through something like this. So what was it like waking up and hearing that news?
I think for the first, I didn't cry for the first 2 weeks probably, and I just immediately I feel like I've always had that attitude where it's like, well, this is what I'm given, so I don't have any other choice but to do what I can with it. So I was usually the one that was trying to make everybody laugh. My room was very positive and just I don't know.
It is what it is. This is what I got. I can either sit here and do nothing,
get sad about it, or
I can sit here and make the best life I can for myself from this day forward.
Right.
And at 18?
She was 17 when
17 years old. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know too many 17-year-olds. Although, then again, I think we can learn from young people. Because also, at 17, you, in some way, shape, or form, nothing can stop you. You just think you're invincible. So perhaps maybe your youth helped you as well.
Yes.
But definitely your attitude. So walk us through the next couple of months in the hospital.
Well, I was in the hospital when I was 17, so on my 18th birthday, which is supposed to be the birthday where, you're a woman and you're, an adult now. And I was.
And you were going to go to Auburn, right?
I was
getting ready for
college. Counting down the days. I think I had 29 days left until I was leaving. I was getting out of there. I was excited about it. And so that wasn't going to happen. But on my 18th birthday, I was in a diaper. I had to be carried and put into my car, and they gave me a therapeutic leave is what they called it for my birthday. And so I went home. We had completely, renovated the house, yes, so that I could get in and get out. And although it was a good birthday because, everybody came up and showed and loved on me, it was also terrible because my feet swelled up to, basketballs, and I was uncomfortable. And, but, I turned 18 in the hospital, and I was in there for 2 months and then got out, living still at home with my mom and my dad, and it was rough. We didn't know, there's a lot of problem solving when, you have something tragic happen that, isn't supposed to happen in life. And so we, had to figure out how to bathe me. We, rigged some stuff down into my garage, had crazy stuff going on. I didn't really get out and do much because it was just hard. I had bladder stuff to worry about. At that point, my mom was still taking care of me. I couldn't even get out of bed by myself. So it was really, rough emotionally, just,
bet.
trying to figure out, okay, I'm supposed to be an adult, but I'm basically a baby right now. So, and at that point we were waiting to go to Shepherd Spinal Center, and I was on a waiting list to get into that. And so then about 6 months later, I guess it was in November, right?
It was 2 months later.
Oh, so 2 months later, I got to Shepherd, and I did a day program there where you stay in their apartments, and that was great. I loved it. It was nice to actually be doing something to get better, and I had this fairyland idea that I'd be walking by.
Well, you had hope because
Yeah.
you're rehabbing now. Before we go there, though, I
Okay.
want to back up for a minute and
Okay.
talk to Mom, because I wanted you on this show. First of all, your story, we haven't even gotten to it. It's great. But to help the folks that listen every week and the caregivers that are taking care of their loved ones who are debilitated, and it takes a lot out of you. So I'm thinking, as I'm listening to her tell me, you're home for 2 months out of the hospital. You haven't even gone to rehab, which is crazy to me. And you, Mom, all of a sudden your life is upside down.
Yes.
And I can't even imagine how you get through that. You must be thinking, how am I going to take care of my daughter? How am I going to keep working? How am I going to make enough money to get her what she needs? And what is life going to bring me? So I would love for you right now just to take a minute for our audience to help those caregivers out there that are caring for their loved ones, and their whole life is upside down now too. How do you help them? What do you have to say?
I think the biggest thing that I can say, and I watched my dad be a caretaker to my mom. She had diabetes, and it was 10 years of just that emotional draining, just what can I do? How can I fix them? It's physically and emotionally hard. And so I had someone that I had watched be a caretaker. So I had something to judge by. But the biggest advice, and I thought about this a lot, don't isolate yourself. Make sure you stay in touch with your friends and family, because it is so easy to get so caught up in the day-to-day routine of what you have to do physically for the person you're taking care of that you lose yourself. You lose your friends, you lose your contacts, you lose that support system. And for me, I think that was probably the biggest, is being able to have that outlet to call someone to remind me that I'm still a person. Mm-hmm. I love her with everything there is, and I would do anything to take care of her, but I still had to emotionally take care of myself.
Yeah, and I see that so often with the spouses or sons or daughters, and they put their life on hold, and you have to some extent, but then they don't live.
Yes.
They forget to live. And the important thing I want you all to know out there who are in a situation similar where you are caregiving, or maybe your life's turned upside down and you had to go to part-time to help your mom or your dad, or whatever the situation, you have to first take care of yourself. And I see it so often. The caregivers get sick.
Yes.
And then everybody's in turmoil because nobody can take care of anybody. And so please, if you are out there, if you are listening today and you are taking care of someone and you're in that routine, just getting through the day every day, there are so many resources out there. No matter what you're going through, go to the association. If it's Alzheimer's and dementia, go to the Alzheimer's Association. If it's diabetes and stroke, go to the Diabetes Association. Whatever it is that you're fighting or struggling with right now, you have to reach out, whether it's just a support group once a week, whether it's 1 hour once a week, you've got to get it out and you've got to talk. So, and faith.
Absolutely.
And faith, because you have to have hope. No matter what, whatever that hope is. And I tell people, I worked in hospice for a long time, and I tell people, it's not about giving up, and it's not about a lack of hope. You just hope for different things. You hope for a good life till there isn't one left. You hope for good conversations to create good memories. You hope for a peaceful death. And you hope for reconciliation. People think hope means living a perfect life, but hope can mean anything. So back to you, Jackie. Let's talk about that. Because here you say you get to this rehab and you're thinking, well, you know what? I'm going to walk again. I don't care what any of you are telling me. So there's hope.
Right.
in your head.
Definitely.
And you're there for how long?
I was at Shepherd the first time for maybe 3 weeks because of blood pressure issues, and that was hard because I wanted to be in there trying to get better, but I just physically couldn't because I couldn't do any exercises. So
Because every time you worked too hard, your blood pressure would drop.
it would drop and I would pass out. So they sent me home and said, you can't come here until your blood pressure is better.
Nothing more we can do for you. So you're thinking this could be my life.
So I went home, and for a while, I battled with myself a lot and just kind of hung out, was living, got very depressed. Then I found a website called aparalyzed.com, and it is basically a forum where people who have spinal cord injuries or are paralyzed, I think is basically what it is. They just get on there, talk to each other, help each other out. It's just a resource for me. I met a girl who is now a really close friend of mine, and she helped me through that time. So,
and again, here we are talking about a support system. Everybody needs somebody.
Right.
So we have so much more to talk about. What I want to do is kind of fast forward a little bit. I want the folks listening here today to say, I can do this because this girl did this. So talk about where you're at now and how you think you got here and what your hope is for the future and some advice for someone going through this right now.
Where I am now is I'm at Project Walk, and I am doing therapy. And I just, every day, I try better to, I'm eating healthy, because I think that's important. I'm trying to do more at home and when I'm out, and I'm just basically trying to reach the goal to not only walk, but I want to run again. So I think for me, the way...
And what you have to know, as I'm looking at Jackie, she's in a wheelchair right now.
Yes.
Her arms are moving, her hands are moving, her fingers are moving. She has upper body movement. However, one side is very weak. Right? She's come such a long way, beat all kinds of odds with people who have the exact same injury, lying in bed with no movement at all. And so how much of that do you think... I mean, as listening, I think, well, is that luck? Something must have been different. Or is it really something different in Jackie? People can overcome. You talked about eating healthy. Mind healthy had to have been a large part of that as well.
I think that, if you have the attitude that you're not going to get better, then you're not going to get better because you're not going to do anything to try to get better.
And even if better isn't what you knew before.
Right. But you can always... do something that you weren't doing the day before just by doing something little. I think little victories are the best victories because they keep you going for the long victories. So I think that just my having a positive attitude and having my faith has been the only reason that I am where I am today. So.
And before we go today, I want you all to, check out our website. We'll put a picture and a video up of Jackie so you can see her. But I hope what you get out of this show is that no matter what happens to you, no matter what diagnosis, look, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer, and we were told 3 to 4 months without chemo, 8 to 10 maybe with. And he said to me, darling, I'm going to blow those out of the water. Don't you worry. I'll be here for a while. We had him for 23 months. And as we're talking about hope, my hope changed along the way. And I lost my dad to lung cancer. But I have to tell you, those 23 months were such a gift, and it gave me so much hope about my family ties, the lessons I learned, my life for the future, what I can give to my children when we go through adversity. So bad things happen. Sometimes you can't affect outcomes, but the attitudes and the reaching out to others for support and realizing time is limited, may be limited, or your abilities may be limited, but life can still be as enriched as you want it to be. Right now we have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more to Jackie. We're going to talk to Haley from Project Walk Atlanta. I can't wait for you to hear the incredible things that they're doing at Project Walk, the differences they're making, and how they could possibly help you or a loved one in the future. So stay tuned. We have a lot of great information to share with you when we come back. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with me. Again, I'm Jean Pete, and I'm here with Jacquie Farmer, who is a spinal cord injury survivor, and surviving she is. And so we talked the first half of the show about Jackie's accident. And just to recap, she was 17, and in the summer of 2008, she had a diving accident at a pool, which left her paralyzed with very little movement in her arms, and she was told she would never walk again. Sent home because they couldn't rehab her, because every time they tried, her blood pressure would bottom out and she would pass out. So she was left with the thought, or she was told, that she would never walk again, and had the thought that she may never get better than what she was when she was passing out with very limited mobility in her arms. So now we're going to fast forward a few years, 5 years, and I met Jacquie again a year and a half ago, and she couldn't walk, and she was in a wheelchair, and people were carrying her from chair to car and wherever she needed to go. And so today, you've made great strides, Jacquie, just even in the last year and a half, and just even in the last few months.
Yes.
So we talked about how your attitude and your outlook on life, and Jacquie is a very special individual. For a young woman, well, this has to age you. This has to mature you. You have to look at life differently. But I think she was also born with that kind of attitude that, bring it on. Whatever you can give me, I'm going to shock the heck out of you. So Jacquie, help us get from the last maybe year and how you came to Project Walk. And then we're going to talk about Project Walk, and Haley will speak a little bit about what she's doing with you today.
Well, for the last year, I was kind of in limbo. I didn't really know what I was doing. I tried going to college, which I'd tried previous times, and just didn't exactly work out for me for physical reasons, and just I'm not a very good student. So I decided for 2013 that instead of trying to go to college and do that, I was going to take a break, and I was going to really focus in on my rehab. I want
to talk a little bit about this whole I'm not a good student thing. I think Jacquie did not get into Auburn University because she's not a good student. We're just going to say that right now. So, and knowing Jacquie, and I don't know her very well, but very, very smart, bright, wise individual. So I'm sure that you could have gone to school. But
my thing,
just getting from the car to the wheelchair and where you're going to carry your books and then getting into school, and that's exhausting before you even get to class.
Yes. Mine was a mental thing. I am very bright. I was, an A student in high school. I just never applied myself. And so having the obstacle of being in the wheelchair made it even worse.
Isn't that funny? Did you hear what you just said? I never applied myself.
No,
and
I didn't.
She is applying herself like no one I've ever met in my life. So isn't God funny?
Yes.
Ha.
Yes.
Jokes on all of us. So, Miss I Don't Apply Myself, let's talk about how this whole last year you have applied yourself to get to where you're going, and some of the strides that you made on your own, and now why you think where you're at now is going to help you make even greater strides.
Right. Well, like I said, when 2013 came around, I decided, okay, I'm going to make this happen. I've put it off long enough because I've always, well, not always, but for the past couple of years, I was in and out of therapy, and I had positive feedback, keep doing this, you can get better if you keep working at it. So I just never had the discipline to actually do it. And so in 2013, I decided, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to work hard at it. Yes, I'm going to have days where I'm going to fall, I'm going to cry, I'm going to be upset, and it's, going to be bad, but the important part is that I get up the next day and I do it again. So I had a friend who I met on a women's retreat with my aunt, and she is a quadriplegic like I am, and she started going to Project Walk Atlanta. And I saw this, and I had heard about the one in California, but I had no idea there was one here. So when I saw that, I went in, visited Project Walk, and loved it. It was exactly what I was looking for. It wasn't Shepherd. Shepherd was more, how can we make your life better? And I felt like Project Walk was more, we're going to get you to the goal you want to be at. And it was exactly what I needed before.
So instead of making the environment around you work for your disability so that you could function
right,
like Shepherd, now we are saying, let's challenge this disability of yours.
Yes.
And make this disability meet the needs of your environment.
Yes.
So you can live the best life
yes,
available to you.
And
okay. So the whole frame of mind is different too.
Exactly. And that's the big thing that Paul, the owner of the Project Walk in Atlanta, he wants to give people hope. He wants to say, if they tell you, you can't do it, we're going to work and try to make it to where you can. He's not saying, you are do it. Right. But they're going to give you that type of attitude. And I think that's important when you're trying to get better. If someone's saying, well, you can't do this, then what are you going to do? So it was just the whole atmosphere of Project Walk is you feel like a family. You're all there. You're all supporting each other. And I loved it because before my accident, I was in the gym all the time. I loved the gym. And so being in this type of atmosphere where, I feel like I'm working out, I feel like I'm getting better each time I go. So
I just want to take a minute, and then we're going to introduce Haley from Project Walk because we want to explain exactly what Project Walk is. And what you're doing is beautiful. But I want to back up to something Jackie just said, because this show is all about helping you no matter where it is you are in your life. And I went through something similar too. It doesn't have to be as acute or as drastic as a spinal cord injury where you become a paraplegic. You have to say, and you have to set your mind and focus and determination on what is it that is going to help me live the best life I can, and prioritize that. That's your job. Once you make that decision, no matter what the adversity is you're facing, you then can do anything. And it may take reworking your life, restructuring your life, like Jackie did. I'm not going to go to college. This is what I'm going to focus on. I can do that later. Or this is a higher priority. So for those of you listening, again, we're talking to a young girl with a spinal cord injury, but this is so applicable to anything, whether you're fighting diabetes and you need to lose weight and eat healthier. You just have to make that decision. Diabetes does not have to be debilitative and go downhill very quickly because you can't eat right and you can't get out of the wheelchair or whatever. You can decide, you can focus, you can take one step at a time, like Jackie said, and focus on the small victories. And I promise you, you can make your life better for the rest of your life, however long that is. And like me, something tiny. This is nothing compared to you. But I decided one day, I am going to lose weight. I am going to conquer this battle because this affects every other area in my life. I don't feel good about me, so I use eating as comfort, and I'm not living my best life. And it dawned on me one day, in order to live my best life, I need to change a few things. I need not to work till 7 o'clock at night. I need not to give to everybody in my life. I need to give to me first, which was very hard for me to do. And 70 pounds later, I feel much better. Lots of changes in my much better life. So please, folks, I know I digressed for quite a while there. Whether it's to lose weight, whether it's to take care of yourself because you're a caregiver and you've forgotten that you still have a life to live as well, or whether it's you're going through a terrible illness or adversity and you're just not sure that you can make it through. You can. You need to reprioritize, focus, and set your mind on it, and then you can enhance your life in whatever way that ends up coming into. Okay, so Jackie, I'm sorry. So continue and let me know about, actually I'm going to go to Haley. So Haley, what is Project Walk? Jackie's so excited about it and talking about how this is going to get her to the next level. I can't even picture it in my head. Is it Shepherd Center, a skilled facility, or is it a gym?
We kind of think of ourselves as a little bit the next step from Shepherd Center. So like Jackie said, right after your injury, Shepherd Center is an amazing place to go. They teach you so much. They do your initial rehab. But once you're done there, they kind of put you out into the world and say, here's your life in your chair and this is where you are. So we're kind of that next step from that, trying to take you from your wheelchair to, whatever goals you want to achieve. That could be walking again. That could be getting stronger in your arms to be able to transfer in and out of your wheelchair into your bed by yourself. It could be arm strength to brush your teeth on your own, bringing your arm up to eat something.
Such things we take for granted every
exactly.
day.
I didn't
To
realize
bathe
how much
yourself.
I took for granted.
Like, I can't even imagine not being able to bathe myself and what that would do to my psyche and how the heck you even get over that.
Yeah.
But I guess then modesty is just human. And modesty is just not even important anymore. That's like
No.
the bottom of the
Out the door.
Okay, so she brings herself to Project Walk. And what do you do with folks? So is it like a gym? Is it like a rehab facility? Or is it like a physical therapy center maybe?
It's kind of a mix of all three of those. So we call ourselves a spinal cord injury recovery center. So most of our clients who come in are either paraplegics, quadriplegics, have been in some sort of accident, and we do a lot of intense activity-based kind of therapy to get them to where they want to go with their goals.
And it's just for spinal cord injuries, or if someone had a stroke or some other debilitating, cut their arm off, I don't know, leg, whatever?
Right now, about 90% of our patients are spinal cord injury, but there's 3 of the specialists who work at Project Walk Atlanta, and right now we're all going through a training program, getting higher education to be able to work with more kinds of disabilities. We have had a few stroke patients come through. We do have a few people with cerebral palsy. So we're kind of working towards that to be able to open ourselves up to a broader spectrum of clients.
Okay, wonderful. So Jackie comes in. Is she your typical client?
Most of the clients that I work with are C-level injuries like Jackie. However, Jackie has made a lot more progress than a lot of people I've seen. Jackie, the first day I did her initial evaluation, she rolled in the door, and I had her get on the table and do some basic things, rolling over, sitting, hands and knees on the table, that kind of stuff. And instead of transferring onto kind of sliding her butt over onto the table like most of my clients, she just stood right up out of her wheelchair and slowly walked right over to the table, which was amazing.
And, I've said it before in the show, I met Jackie a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, you couldn't do that.
No.
So on your own, before you even got to Project Walk, I was amazed when I saw you just a couple months ago. And, you have to hold on to the wall to keep your steadiness.
Balance.
But the fact that I saw your feet move underneath you, I was in awe of this girl, because it's 5 years later. And what we know of spinal cord injuries, you just don't expect that 5 years later. You expect that in the first year.
Yes.
And so this is a wonderful story, folks. So you saw right away, I've got a girl here who has some determination in her.
Determination is definitely something I think of when I think of Jackie. I didn't know her during this time, but she was telling me that last year she was so determined to get up and walk that she kind of put her wheelchair away. And in her house, she would set up chairs, right off of her bed, a few feet down the hall, set up another one a few feet down the hall, because she'd be able to stand up and walk a few feet, but then she'd tire out, so she'd sit on that chair. But that's,
And let's talk about that, because Jackie doesn't live with you anymore, Mom, does she?
No, actually, she moved out, I want to say 9 months after the accident. And it was before she was self-sufficient. She was determined.
And that must have went over like a lead ball.
It was ripped my heart out. But at the same time, she was determined to be an independent person.
And kudos to you, really, because I think other folks may not have allowed their children to do that. Really and truly would have made it very difficult. And so you're allowing your hard-headed, determined, focused daughter show herself what she's made of.
Absolutely. And I will say it was a lot of praying that I did, and I learned a lot. God spoke to me very clearly to keep it in my prayers and let him work on her, that he could do more in a 5-minute time with her prayers than I could do in a year of lecturing to her. And there was a lot I needed to say.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But I kept my mouth shut, and I saw it happen through her prayer time. And it's just amazing. I get goosebumps
I have goosebumps right
even watching it happen. It's and it is why she is where she is today, because it wasn't because I pushed her. It is because I prayed for her.
Yeah,
and
it
allowed
has
him
to
to do it
within yourself. So you hand this beautiful, determined, focused individual over to Haley, and Haley sees her walk in the door, and you're excited. You're like, okay, cool, I got this one.
Mm-hmm. I was excited, and I knew right from when she came in that she was going to be my client, because we're kind of the same age. She comes in and she has fun blue and pink and green hair and a cute pink wheelchair, and I knew we were going to get along from the first day.
So she couldn't do a lot first day. Mm-hmm. I mean, she got up and she transitioned well, but
yeah.
So you established a baseline of what it is that she could do. So walk us through that first day to what it is that you are working on now.
So the first day, the first few weeks of us working out, we did a lot of different machines, different exercises, but she would get tired very easily. We could do, a few things of one exercise and have to take a break, and then maybe go on to something else.
And were you still passing out sometimes?
It wasn't
still happening.
Sometimes on certain exercises, my blood pressure will affect me, but I can normally get it under control with either leaning down or arching my back. Just different things I've learned too.
Okay. I'm sorry. So go ahead. I just was curious.
So she would kind of tire out between exercises, and especially her legs. Anything that we did with her legs, they would tire out. So we would have to alternate, do something with her upper body, do something with her lower body to give it a rest, alternating every time. Recently, I'd say about 3 or 4 weeks ago, she had made so much improvement with that kind of thing that I decided that it was time to actually ban her wheelchair from Project Walk. So I told her, I said, next time you come in, the wheelchair is not allowed to come with you. And I got her a little cane with sunflowers on it.
Aww.
So now she walks right out of the car with her cane, comes up the bump on the curb, and walks right in the door. And we can do a whole day of just working with her legs. She won't tire out. And that's before she would roll from one station to the next. Now she works out, can do exactly what I'm asking her to do.
And how long have you been working with Jacquie?
It's been, 2.5, 3 months now?
That's
probably.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so I have so many questions about Project Walk, because I really want to give the visual to the folks that are listening in. Mm-hmm. So when you go to Project Walk, mm-hmm. it's a couple of hours, it's a full day, is it how many times, how do you structure it? If someone's like, okay, I need to call these folks, they need to know a little bit more about how this is going to work.
Most of our clients come in for either 2 or 3 hours, 2 to 3 days a week. And we the first day you'll come in and do a 2-hour evaluation, doing stuff on the table, seeing how you can move, seeing your endurance, that kind of stuff. And we'll kind of gauge it from there, what we think would be a good amount of time for you to come in each week.
Okay. So it could vary depending on the person.
Exactly.
Okay. And when you say you're working out, it's not a real regular gym. You have special machines. And how do they work with folks who need to strengthen in a different way than a healthy individual who hasn't gone through a stroke or a spinal cord injury? Most
of our equipment that we have, it looks pretty much like a normal gym when you walk in, but there's a few different things that you might see that are, a little different. Most of our equipment is something that you would see in a normal gym, but we just slightly modify it to have someone use it who's a quadriplegic or a paraplegic. For example, some of you might know about the Chuck Norris Total Gym, and it has little arm things that you can pull down on the sled and pull yourself up. For my clients, what I do is I sit on the very end of that sled and put their feet next to my legs and actually help them do squats, bringing down the sled, pushing it up with their legs.
Because they can't do it themselves.
Yes.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get their body to form some kind of memory about what it is you want it to do so that eventually it can do it itself?
We're basically trying to help reactivate the nervous system. So by doing repetitive motions, even though some of the clients might not be able to do it by themselves initially, by doing those motions and me acting as their nervous system for them, moving their legs while they are thinking about it, sending that signal from their brain, trying to send the signal from their brain to their legs to move. After doing numerous repetitions of that, I've seen it start to come back.
It's worked on me. I've had something happen that is exactly what she's talking about.
So now your legs do something that they couldn't do 2.5 months ago. So can you give folks your website and your phone number? And I'm sure you have some videos that show how these machines work, or actually I'm looking at a brochure here. Is it all right if I give it out?
Yeah, that's totally.
Okay. It's Project Walk Atlanta. It's over at 17, okay, wait a minute now, because I have to adjust to my environment.
It's 1755 Grassland Parkway.
Okay.
And it's in Alpharetta off of exit 12 of the 400 freeway.
Okay. And now that I have my glasses on, I can read your phone number. The phone number is 770-722-4239. But you can go, Project Walk is all over the country, something I didn't know. You can go to the website and hear a lot more and see a lot more about what it is we're talking to you about today. And that's www.projectwalkatlanta.org. www.projectwalkatlanta.org. So we only have a few more minutes. So Jackie, let's talk to you about maybe a specific thing that you couldn't do and how you got here. And then I want to talk about what your hope is in the next year and in the future. And then I know Project Walk is not covered by insurance. So unfortunately, not yet anyway, when you have, hopefully we can change that. But so a lot of folks that come to Project Walk have fundraisers and raise money so that they can continue and can continue on. And I hope that for Jackie, because what I see in Jackie's future is a whole heck of a lot of motivational speaking. And so we want to get her as well as possible, not just for Jackie, but so Jackie can speak to many, many more people about how to help themselves. So Jackie, now your legs can do what your legs couldn't do 2.5 months ago.
Right.
So what is your goal for the end of 2013? Where do you want to be?
I would love to be walking full time at the end of 2013, and my goal after that would be to focus on running, and
that's amazing.
Then possibly going back to college and figuring out what I want to do with life, because once I don't have to factor in I'm in a wheelchair, what can I do? I don't even really know what I want to do yet.
No, the sky's the limit, I can tell. So when you say by the end of 2013 you want to be walking, that's without a cane ever?
Without a cane.
Just
I just
independently?
Yes.
Wow. No matter whether there's like a little funny looking walk or whatever.
It will probably be funny looking at first, and it may be for the rest of my life, but it's much better than being in the wheelchair. So.
Okay. And so the donations. So how much does it cost? What is it that you need you think to get to your goal of walking?
Well, 1 hour at Project Walk is $100. Right now I'm going twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 hours. I would like to be going 3 times a week for 2 hours. And after calculating everything up to go for 1 year.
Well, that's $600 a week, right? For 52 weeks.
It comes
about
out to
$3,000.
$31,200.
Oh, I missed a zero there. Wow. Holy cow, that's
for 1
a lot.
year.
That's a lot.
So.
But you know what? I hate putting a monetary value on walking.
Right.
But everybody, needs a little bit of help. So if you're interested in donating to help Jackie reach her goal of walking and participate in this wonderful story, you can just go to the website, www.projectwalkatlanta.org. And in the top right-hand corner, I think it's the right-hand corner of the site, there's a tab called Donations. And if you click on that tab, you can enter your information and how much you want to donate, and in the in memory of or in honor of section, just put Jackie's name, and that's Jacquie Farmer. Special lady here today. Thank you, Jackie, for coming and telling your story. And I see you walking, and I see you. There's a plan for you, and it will unfold, and it already is. And thank you, Colette, for telling your side of the story as a caregiver, because it's so important to many of our listeners who are caregivers. And Haley, the work that you do at Project Walk is amazing. I'd love to just kind of pop in and see it someday. Again, folks, that's Project Walk Atlanta. Whether or not you're suffering from a spinal injury, I think if you go in and you see some of the stories that they have to tell on their website, it will help you. And that's www.projectwalkatlanta.org. I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead. And listen here, same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.